If you've ever wondered about the financial aspect of a working holiday visa, you're at the right place. I'm Safia, your host, and today we'll explore all the money-related questions you might have about doing a working holiday visa abroad, such as what's the cost of living? What should be your budget when you do a working holiday visa? And how much money you should save up for a working holiday visa. We will cover it all. Before we kick off, I'd like to give a huge thank you to our sponsor, International Experience Canada, a program from the Government of Canada for making the Nomad Talks possible. On today's live episode, we're joined by Drew, a digital nomad from Toronto who caught the travel bug after working and traveling and living in Taiwan for a whole year on a working holiday visa. And we're also joined by Drew, another Drew, from Bristol, UK, who's currently living in Whistler and doing a working holiday visa in Canada with the IEC visa. So thank you guys for joining us today. So one of the questions that we get a lot, and some people may wonder when we're talking about the financial aspect of the working holiday visa, is the cost of the working holiday visa. So for instance, if you go abroad like you did, Drew, in Australia, it's about 464 Canadian dollars. In Germany, it's about $115. In Hong Kong, well, it's a bit cheaper. It's like $39. So when you did your working holiday visa in Taiwan, do you remember how much you paid for the working holiday visa?
Yes, I do. It was around $100 US, 150 Canadian dollars at that time. This was about a year and a half ago. And I think it's also important to consider as well with the Taiwan embassy, there's a lot of traveling back and forth that you have to do to fill out lots of paperwork. So if we are going to invest our time in paying that fee, I think the travel time, the gas expenses, I would say about $200 all in all. To get your visa finished.
So it's not too bad, but it's good to consider.
To some other countries, yeah, it's actually reasonable.
So if you're not familiar with the working holiday visa and you've just joined us, here's a quick rundown. So basically, it allows Canadians between the ages of 18 to 35 to travel, live, and work in up to 30 destinations, including Taiwan, like Drew. And it's for up to 1 year, or in certain countries for up to 2 years. So for more details, I will leave the link in the comments below for International Experience Canada, where you have all the details for the working holiday visa, including the price for each country that you would like to visit for the visa fee. So what about you, Drew, coming from the UK and you're doing a working holiday visa here in Canada?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the cost of your IEC visa for the working holiday?
I can't recall exactly, but I feel it was around the same kind of price range, maybe like 150 Canadian. But there are other costs as well. For example, getting police certificates from every country you've lived in for more than 6 months.
Whoa.
And also states as well. So for Australia, I had to get a couple of police certificates as well because I did my working holiday there. So yeah, there's a lot of, not a lot, there's added costs that you don't originally think there will be.
That are not included in the initial visa fees.
Yeah, exactly.
I see.
Yeah.
So if you're from the UK, like Drew, or Australia, New Zealand, France, South Korea, or any of the 30 plus eligible countries to apply for the working holiday visa in Canada, I invite you once again to visit the International Experience Canada website. It is definitely your go-to resource for all the info that you want to have or to get you started on your working holiday visa experience. To get the working holiday visa, Drew, for Taiwan, you need to show a certain amount of money in your bank account, and it varies from one destination to the next, just like the visa fee. Did you have more savings than the required amount to get the working holiday visa in Taiwan?
This is going to depend on each individual person. Before applying for the working holiday visa for Taiwan, I had been pretty financially stable for the past 5 or 6 years. So going into this whole experience, I felt I set myself up for success because I did have more than the required budget saved for this type of experience, which I do recommend for anybody who's looking to travel abroad. It's always good to not just hit the minimum requirement, but to be prepared just in case something else happens.
Right. That's interesting. It's a good advice.
Yeah.
And Drew, what about you? Did you have enough saving than the required amount?
No, I didn't. No. On the other side of the coin. No, my mum transferred me the money, and I transferred it back to her once I got into Canada. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I was going like straight into work. Like I had my start date, so I wasn't like concerned about like expenses that I might incur. I was straight into work.
By the way, I'm just gonna interrupt this because get ready for an epic giveaway that we have today. So to participate, it's really easy. All you have to do is to hit the like button on this video and you'll be automatically entered. And you have a chance to win this prize from our awesome sponsor, Vode. And it's a beautiful Vode Astrum Evo 55+10 backpack. Here it is. It could be yours. It is a trekking backpack, and it's really a game changer for all of your travel adventures. So the fact that it is a 55+10 liter capacity means that you have plenty of room for all of your essentials, whether you're on a working holiday visa or just exploring the world on your own. So the Astrum Evo backpack comes with a cleverly designed carrying system for optimal weight distribution and comfort during your long hikes, or if you have to go from the airport to the train station.
Yep, that would have come in use.
Makes it much more comfortable. And to the last part is that the eco-friendly material will have you traveling sustainably and in style. So don't miss your chance to win this fantastic prize. All you have to do is hit the like button and you'll be in for the giveaway. All right, back to money talk. Managing finances during a working holiday visa is essential. So Drew, during your time in Taiwan, was the money that you earned during your working holiday visa was enough to cover your cost of living?
Yes, and this is what made Taiwan such an attractive destination for me, is that the average income for foreigners or anybody who's looking to go there is much higher. Well, I wouldn't say much higher. I would say it's a significant amount higher than the average, or I would say local income of people who are currently living there, right? So you're able to find a pretty comfortable living standard with the income you're receiving monthly, and they do pay out monthly in Taiwan for most jobs, and compared to the cost of living. Yeah, I was still able to save, have fun, and experience the culture. So
I have to say, life is good in Asia.
It definitely is. Can't complain.
So, Drew, you're currently living in Whistler in BC. Do you also find that the money you earn during your working holiday visa covers your cost of living comfortably?
I wouldn't say comfortably, no. Whistler's renowned for being very expensive. For myself, I'm in hospitality, which helps a lot. But I wouldn't say that it's a comfortable lifestyle. I think most people in Whistler are kind of struggling a little bit. Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So if we try to dive a little bit deeper into your expenses, can you share with us which categories of expenses are the most significant for you here in Canada during your working holiday visa?
For me, mine would probably be rent. It's probably about half my monthly paycheck. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's quite extensive.
A big portion. Yeah. And yeah, also living in the mountains, it's things like ski passes, mountain bikes. It's a very active place. So a lot of expenses are on toys, really. Yeah.
Activities and stuff. And what about you, Drew? What were your most significant expenses during your working holiday visa in Taiwan?
For me, it's a little bit different for me because a lot of people spend a lot of their money on food and alcohol, let's say. And for me, my whole life, I've had a bit of an unique diet habit where I usually eat one meal a day. So I've lived on one meal a day my whole life. So it saves a lot of money. So I didn't spend a lot with regards to food, which means I allocated my budgets to go towards lots of travel. So in Taiwan, I would be buying bus tickets. I took planes over to some other smaller islands that were connected to Taiwan. Booked Airbnbs, hotels in different cities. At every opportunity on any weekend, I was in a different city experiencing what the food was like there, or what the culture was like there, and what people had to say. So I would say just the fun money was the biggest expense for me. Yeah.
But it's good because I think we need to understand the typical costs that are associated with a working holiday visa, and it's essential for the planning, even as you're trying to budget and everything. So can you give us an idea of the average cost, let's say for rent, groceries, transportation, any activities that you did in Taiwan?
Yeah, and actually I came prepared.
Okay.
And I did my research. So I can give you guys the exact numbers. So let's see here. Okay, so my income, I was making about 65,000 Taiwan dollar a month, which is 2,800 Canadian. That's the average for most people who are on a working holiday visa teaching, let's just say. Rent is about 10,000 Taiwan dollars, so about 420 Canadian.
Well, that's
so
cheap.
you're already left in a pretty bogus spot, which is great. Food for me, it was about on average 600 Taiwan dollar a day. That's 25 Canadian dollars a day. That's one meal,
pretty decent,
right? So maybe double that for the average person, right? And then everything else, all of my personal expenses and fun was about 500 Canadian. So I was still left over with a good, I would say a quarter left of my salary each month I had saved up. So the expenses, depending on where you live in the country, right? If you stay in Taipei, the capital, it will cost more. There's more tourist traps. There's more things that are selling to people who don't want to experience the local cultures and such. But if you can get out of that area, you'll find costs of living can be pretty cheap.
Wow. Thank you for those insights. I appreciate that you did the homework. So if you're curious and you would like to also do your homework before you leave, there's a website called Numbeo where you have the average price of many different commodities, whether it's rent, groceries, a pint of beer, or a coffee. So you can check out Numbeo. We'll leave the link in the comments or in the description, and you'll be able to check if the destination where you're going to compare the prices to Canada. So you can pick a city and then compare it to the prices of your home country. So Drew, I'm sure people considering coming to Canada on an IEC visa would also like to know a bit more about the typical cost. So can you give us an idea of the average cost for rent, grocery, transportation in Whistler?
In Whistler, so my rent, I live in a share house with 5 other people. I pay 1,200 a month Canadian dollars.
That's just your share.
That's just my room, yeah.
Wow.
So that's expensive.
Much different in my experience.
And again, groceries are pretty pricey as well. I guess because it's fairly kind of not connected, really. They just bump the prices up on everything. But it's the price you pay to live in Whistler, right? So
it's the beauty tax of Whistler.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the buses are quite cheap though, so that's fine. Yeah, $50 for the month, so that's good. Yeah.
So I guess that's why it's important to budget. And I know, boring budget. No one wants to hear about that, really. But based on your experience in Taiwan, Drew, what monthly budget would you recommend for someone going there for a working holiday visa?
I think this is going to come down again to individual values and what you're hoping to get out of the experience. If you even look at the title "working holiday visa," it's like, okay, what is your goal? Is your goal to work and save money, or is your goal to go on a holiday? Right. So depending on how you're working that out, it can really change. I've always learned, my mom taught me a great philosophy when it came to financial budgeting. If we split your paycheck, so let's assume you got your paycheck, you split it into 4, right? The first quarter of that paycheck should definitely go towards paying your rent. The second should go towards paying all of your fun things, your extra money. Third should go to your savings, and then the last should go to food and things that you actually need outside of your rent. And if you were to follow that structure, and of course it might bleed into different ways depending on how much you're making, I find that you're able to experience the culture and still leave with a little bit of money at the end. So it's a good budgeting plan that I figured out and has taught me well, even after my travels, after my working holiday visa. So that's what I would recommend to people.
Great insight from your mother.
Yeah, right.
I hope you took some notes.
Listen to your mom.
Especially when she talks about budgeting. I know it's easy to roll your eyes, but this seems like very insightful stuff.
Yes.
And
so what about you, Drew? What monthly budget would you recommend for someone considering doing a working holiday visa in Canada?
Monthly budget, probably I would say $2,500, I would say.
And that's for Whistler.
That's
right?
for Whistler, yeah.
So it's on the expensive.
It's on the expensive side, yeah. So you could get away with less, but yeah, like you said as well, it just depends on your morals and your values. If you wanted to, never go to a pub or something, then you could come with much less. It just depends what you enjoy out of life, really.
Yeah. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And so since you're here in Canada, as we said, on a working holiday visa, do you notice a significant difference between the cost of living here and the cost of living in the UK?
Yeah, I would say it's more expensive here. And that's not just Whistler. I just think all over Canada is more expensive than the UK, for sure.
Even with the exchange rate?
Even with the exchange rate, yeah. Yeah.
Our inflation is just growing.
Yeah,
it's just growing.
Yeah, it's mad. And I know inflation's everywhere, but I could get by a lot more easily in the UK for sure.
Fascinating.
I'll be honest, I really didn't expect that.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like we always have this image of the UK being really expensive, also because of the exchange rate and everything.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like London is again like a different story, but like where I'm from and the rest of the country, I think it's cheaper.
You've been in Asia.
Yes.
And you've been in Asia for a while now, which I absolutely understand, given the cheaper cost of living. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the cost of living in Taiwan compares to Canada?
I mean, Taiwan has hit its level of inflation relative to its economy as well, but I would say Canada's definitely taking a bigger hit. So when it comes to your income and its relative, its relationship to the amount that you're going to be spending, I still say you can live quite comfortably, especially compared to the income that you might receive in Canada, and then how much you can spend out as well. The working holiday visa to Taiwan gave me an incredible opportunity to see the value of money and how you can live a lifestyle of not having to worry so much about a lot of financial stress, right? And it's really made me value the privilege that we get to be Canadian and to come from developed countries, that we can travel to places like these and experience different cultures without having to worry so much about financial stresses. But yes, to answer your question, I would say that the economy in Taiwan and how much you get paid allows you to live more comfortably than in Canada, for sure.
I can't say it enough. I love Asia. But that being said, were there any unexpected expenses that happened during your working holiday visa? Did you encounter any in Taiwan?
With regards to the working holiday visa, Taiwan's government recognizes the working holiday visa, obviously, because it's your legal status to get in. But the way that trickles down to small businesses and corporations, they don't really know what that is. So when I was there and I was trying to open up my bank account, or I was trying to sign up for a phone plan, they were asking for my residence card, which is what like maybe a work visa provides. When I said, I don't have that, I don't have the picture ID, I only have this piece of paper that the government of Taiwan gave me, they're like, I'm sorry, we can't help you because we don't know what this is. Right. And I was like, well, it's your government. How do they not know? So there's this big disconnect between the government and the businesses, and the expense of that, or the consequences. You might be sold higher products that people who are there for a regular work visa, let's just say, don't have to face. So there were instances, very small instances, where I had to pay a little bit more for services that should have already been included in the experience of the working holiday visa.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And what about you, Drew? Did you also face any unexpected expenses so far during your working holiday visa here in Canada?
I actually haven't, to be honest. When you come to Canada, you need to have insurance for the duration of your visa, like medical insurance. And yeah, it's British Columbia is pretty good at offering like great healthcare.
Yes.
So the couple of times that I have had to go to the doctors or like being in the emergency room, it has been covered, which is great. Really. Yeah.
And you had mentioned a bit the cost of rent. Was this something that came as a surprise to you when you arrived?
Yes. Yeah. I didn't factor that much rent in. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it was quite a shock, but then you realize that that's just everywhere, and you're like, well, there's nothing I can really do about it, so I'll just pay it. Yeah.
You just go along with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but the genius thing about the working holiday visa is that it allows you to work abroad, but also to save money to extend your travels. So based on your experience and the people that you've met abroad, is it feasible to save money during a working holiday visa in Taiwan to keep traveling?
Yeah, definitely. And that's exactly what I've done, right? I mean, since leaving Taiwan, it's taught me so much about my finances, and it's taught me how I can live this lifestyle of continuing traveling, which I have for the past year and a half. But again, the amount that you're receiving as your income, depending on the employer, depending on where you're going to be in Taiwan, is much higher than the cost of living. And it comes back to what we were talking about with your morals and your values. Like, how do you want to live that 1 year? You can blow it all if you really want and have an incredible adventure and then come back with, well, now you got to start kind of fresh again, right? But there is a balance, and you can find it if you're strategic about it and you're at least logical when it comes to financial management, figuring out, okay, how can I still have fun every week, pay my bills, pay my rent, pay my groceries, and still save a little bit at the end. And I think if you find that sweet spot, and maybe I would say 3 months, if you look at your bank account every 3 months for the first 3 months of your working holiday visa, and just you'll have a good understanding after 3 months of how much I'm spending, how much I'm earning, and then you can make adjustments from that. But I do believe it is possible for sure.
That's amazing. Yeah. What's your take on this, Drew? Do you feel like you've encountered people, or maybe even yourself, who successfully saved money during their working holiday visa for further travels?
Yeah, for sure. It is possible. Yeah, 100%. Have I? Not really. But yeah, I like to blow it all. Yeah, take my advice. Yeah, right? Take your mum's advice. But yeah, no, it is possible. And yeah, if you put your head to it, then 100% you can. Maybe not necessarily for an extended period of time, but for sure you can go, pop down to Central America for like a month or something. Oh yeah. But I don't think you could feasibly, work for a year and then travel extensively for a year, which unfortunately
hard to do that with Canada being your working holiday visa destination, because the cost is so high to live here too, right? It can be challenging.
For sure.
Well, I mean, you did talk about it a little bit, but I guess the best way to save money is then to become an expert at cutting costs. So what are some specific cost saving tips that you've discovered during your IC visa in Canada that you would like to share with us?
I don't have heaps because, again, I'm not very good at it. But like I get a lot of my food from work because I work in the hospitality industry, and I actually find it's a really good way to save money because you're getting dinner as well,
So one meal a day?
Yeah, 1 meal a day, that's pretty good. And also just kind of having boundaries and like setting yourself, be like, no, I don't need to spend that this weekend, I don't need to do that. So don't find other hobbies that don't involve going and splashing all your cash, just get a good book or something, there's other things that are enjoyable without just spending all your money. Yeah.
That's true.
What about you, Drew? Do you have any additional cost saving advice that could benefit those planning to do their own working holiday visa?
Oh, listen to my mom. 1 meal a day. My mom's advice was great and it's helped me. But on a larger scale, I would say stay away from the tourist traps. I find every culture has the places that they know foreigners or visitors are going to come to, and they're going to charge a lot more for it. But they are tourist traps for a reason. There's usually something you can experience there. So, go once, but you don't have to stay there. You don't need to stay in the capital of every city. That's one thing I find when I travel to capitals around the world, not just Taiwan, but other places. I meet people and they have not left that capital. They don't see a purpose of leaving the big city. It's like, really, you can save so much more money if you were to live like an hour south in this one place. I'm like, I never thought about it. Right, because it's easier to, and it's less stress to just go to where it's most popular and where you have a bigger community of foreigners or people on different visas, right?
Yeah.
Another piece of advice: make friends with local people. For sure, right? And not just to use them to help you, right? But of course, making friends, it's part of the experience of learning the culture. And when you do have those friends, they'll often give you insights that you wouldn't even have thought of how to save money and connections that they have to make life easizer.
They know the local spots.
They do, yeah, of course.
The local market.
Yes, and they know when you're being ripped off. Right? When you're being scammed. And my last piece of advice, there are apps you can download for your phone. A popular one is called Traveloka and Klook, which gives small businesses in the country you're in, usually in Asia, this is all in Asia, an opportunity to advertise. And it's usually advertised at discounted prices that you can only get through the app. Okay. So for example, I saw many places for massages, Thai massages, things like that. And it was like 60% off.
Wow.
On the discount if you book it through the app.
Very interesting.
And not a lot of people think to go on those apps. And then he was even surprising some of the locals. I was like, okay, I'll buy this for us both. Like, yeah, let's do it.
You have a guide.
So yeah, that's what I would say.
You can tell that you're both experienced travelers. I mean, this comes with experience, with trial and errors and everything.
Yeah.
So, Drew, how did your financial management skills evolve throughout your working holiday visa in Canada?
Say next question.
Do you feel like you developed any new habits for better budgeting and financial planning?
I think probably not like maybe not new habits, but I am just much more aware of the cost that life incurs, you know?
Yes.
And I think it's like different when you're, you know, like traveling and everything is like Asia, like much cheaper. You kind of like don't really worry too much because like it doesn't like amass to a huge amount. But yeah, I just say living in Canada, I'm just very much aware of what I'm spending. And, you know, when I get that notification on my phone, I'm like, oh, you know, like, so yeah, I'd probably say that. But have I developed any like habits? I don't think so, yeah, if I'm honest.
And what about you, Drew? Did you also notice some changes in your financial management skills or habits during your working holiday adventure in Taiwan?
So for me, I would say I had a pretty good grasp on my finances before going to Taiwan. So I wouldn't say it's evolved in that way. I think mine would be a little bit more about, like you said, awareness of how much money you're spending.
Yeah.
And also as you travel these different countries, especially in Asia, I'm assuming many places as well, you really do get to see the stark contrast between yourself, who's in this foreign land making a lot of money, right? And then, you know, the conditions that other people are living in, which might be poor, right? And if you look at how they're managing their finances, some of them are extremely happy living in poor environments. Some of them are not extremely happy, right? And I think that that's kind of gave me this realization of, well, the true value of money, right? And how that can change independently for each individual person. And as I travel around the world outside of Taiwan now as well, I've narrowed down out of things I don't really need. I think I've been able to look at my financial situation and be like, okay, I don't really need alcohol to have fun, right? And that saves a lot in the end because I've met people who have lived wonderful lives without a lot of the issues that we face here in the West, right? So yeah, I think it's a little bit more, not necessarily like if this is how you save money, but I think the experience of seeing so many different financial situations, so many different economies has taught me the value of money and the happiness it can create for people.
Yeah. Just kind of see the bigger picture.
Yeah, that's right. The bigger picture.
You realize, you're a very small fish in a big pond.
Yeah. And when I come back to Canada, I might see how that may change my financial situation.
But as you're both, like I said, experienced travelers, it also forces you to adopt more of a minimalistic lifestyle because obviously you're limited in what you can bring with you and what you can carry, and you're not as tempted to buy a bunch of stuff because where are you going to put it in?
Yeah, that's so true.
Oh my God. I was shopping for all my, because I've got 4 sisters. I've got a big family. And this is my first time doing this whole like travel around the world. So every country I was going to, I was buying gifts and gifts for my family. And then I had to pay check baggage fees at every new country I was going to until I can get home. So now I've learned. You don't need to buy things for your family. They'll still love you.
That is a great advice.
So
All right. So let's wrap things up with some wise advice. So what advice would you like to give to someone who is considering doing a working holiday visa in Taiwan?
Not just necessarily Taiwan, but doing a working holiday visa anywhere. There are 100 reasons you can convince yourself not to do something, especially if you're comfortable with the current setting that you're in right now, right? And in my opinion, you are missing out on an opportunity for like extreme amounts of growth. Even if you're uncomfortable, even if you don't like it, when you make that step, you make that jump to do something that is outside of your normal circle, you're going to gain wisdom. You're going to gain insight about the culture, about yourself that you can just apply back to where you were. So my advice is to just do it, is to take the leap, right? Do the research, of course, do the preliminary research to make sure you know what you're getting into. But it's that last step of like, do I book the flight, right? If you book that flight, then you feel obligated. You feel financially obligated to follow through with your advice. And the worst case scenario, is not even that bad, because the worst case is you can just leave and come back to exactly where you are right now, and you're still smarter because of it. Right. So yeah, that's my advice, is to just make the change, because it's worth it in the end.
Drew, do you have any words of wisdom that you would like to add for those wishing to embark on a working holiday visa to Canada?
I would probably say just like be prepared and set yourself deadlines, because it's not the easiest process to get it. So you need to just be fully aware of what it entails.
Yes.
And maybe just set deadlines. Okay, so I'm going to apply this day. Okay, I'm going to, do my CV by this day. I'm going to my resume by this day. Just plan so that you can come in and get to Canada and be like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I don't need to stress myself out. I just need to find work and find some friends.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your working holiday visa experience.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Really inspiring. So for those of you that are watching us live, it is now your turn to ask your question. So just write them down in the comments and we will take 2 questions that we can answer right now. So let's see the first question. So this one is for Drew Cicera. Did you have to open a bank account in Taiwan, and was it a complicated process?
Yeah, and I think I hinted on this a little bit earlier. It was complicated. You do have to open a bank account when you're there on a working holiday visa because your employer has to pay you income. And when we went to the bank, I tried to do it myself. Because at immigration and everything, they told me, yeah, you should have no problem. This is your legal status. Just take it to the bank and they'll open it for you. And I went to 5 different banks and none of them recognized my working holiday visa. They didn't know what that was.
Oh.
And even my Taiwanese friend, because I had made some friendships before coming to Taiwan, I asked them if they could talk on the phone to the person and explain in Taiwanese or in Chinese, right? And nope, they still said we need to see like a actual working visa. So I went to my employer who was, sponsoring was sponsoring me for my work. And she had to book an appointment at the bank. They were arguing with each other. They were like yelling at each other, trying to figure it out. And I was just kind of sitting there like, okay, what's going on? So in the end, yes, I did get my bank account after my employer had to talk to the manager of the branch about the working holiday visa and how legitimate it was. So it was a frustrating experience. But once that, 2 hours total time was done, I didn't have any worries for the rest of the year. So,
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I find it like so funny that like the Taiwanese people didn't know about, their working holiday visa. But it's so true. I would have no idea about how to get a UK visa, and it's like so funny. We know so much about other countries and how to get visas, but like actually know nothing about like your own country, like what the process is.
Did you face such difficulties when you open a bank account in Canada?
No, actually, no. It was like super, super easy. Yeah, it was an official document that said, "Okay, great." Yeah.
Not as much red tape. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Right? Less stress.
Different process. Yeah. So for Drew Watts, someone is asking, what is your biggest expense while living here in Canada?
It is rent for sure. Yeah.
Is there any way that you could cut down, or do you feel like that's really the standard price and you kind of just roll with it? And
yeah, I think that's just like the standard price. That is obviously like everything included, bills included. But yeah, I think there's no change in that, unfortunately. It's say inflation, like housing crisis, it's everywhere. Unfortunately, that's kind of where the world's going, unfortunately.
How much would rent be, for instance, in the UK in Bristol?
It would probably be like Bristol, like the south coast of the UK is fairly expensive. Like it would probably be like £600 for a share house, which I guess is about.
So it's about the same.
It's about the same, yeah, like 1,000, yeah, something like that.
Okay,
yeah.
So it's not so much of a big difference, but it's still a big chunk. Of
of course,
your budget.
And it's a bigger difference because I just live with mum when I'm back.
I see.
So I'm traveling a lot, and I just use like Bristol as like my little base, and I get free rent for a couple of months, and then I go away, and then I actually have to pay rent. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yep. The benefits of moms.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
You seem to have great moms, guys.
Right? It must be a Drew thing.
Yeah, I think it must be a Drew.
My mom is great too, just putting it out there. All right. If you have a question that we didn't have a chance to answer, just write them down in the comments and we'll make sure to reply to every single one of you. If you're backpacking in Canada, in Ontario, or in Quebec, use the promo code Nomad Junkies. Altogether, Nomad Junkies, and you will get 10% at Saint-Lô hostels on your booking. So this means obviously more money for you to extend your trip. And if you're looking for the best travel insurance for your next working holiday visa, check out Sonomad. We'll also leave a link in the comments. This is by far Canada's most affordable travel insurance, and I challenge you to find a cheaper travel insurance. Check it out, Sonomad. If you decide to travel and work abroad, you'll find all the details on how to apply for every country on the International Experience Canada website. And if you're from the UK, New Zealand, Australia, France, South Korea, or any of the 30 plus eligible countries to do a working holiday visa in Canada, same thing. We'll share the details on how to apply on the International Experience Canada website. Both links will be in the comment. And don't forget, you still have time to enter our giveaway for the chance to win the Vode Astrum Evo backpack. So all you have to do is like this video and you'll be automatically in for the chance to win. And keep an eye out in the comments as we will announce the winners there. So thanks, Drew and Drew. We hope that you feel more confident about the financial aspect of the working holiday visa now that you have the insight of both Drews. And we'd like to give a special thanks once again to our official sponsor, International Experience Canada, a program of the Government of Canada, for making the Nomad Talks possible. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. You'll find tons of other videos about different topics on the working holiday visa. We will put the links for all the videos in the comments.